They'd probably be melted by the time they got there.
Yeah, it is pretty hot in my little office.
Okay, now we're in the green room. Everybody, we are technically live. But yeah, full disclosure, I love the size of my new studio. The one before this was really small, and this one is enormous comparatively. So there's a lot of airflow, and it is really nice. No more am I pitting myself out during the
That's true.
during these shows.
Yes.
Aren't you close by, Krista?
What?
Aren't you close by?
What do you mean? Oh, like in the same room. Yes, we're in the same room, but I am just hot in general. I'm so sexy. No, because I'm already drinking wine.
The fan's blowing. Look, you can see the flags are blowing.
Yeah, it's not blowing on me directly.
Well,
I cannot feel it. My hair is down.
Be one with
It's
it. And
thick.
just imagine you're feeling the wind on your face.
Oh, I'm so imagining it.
There you go.
I'm on the beach.
Here's the thing. I want to get
Nice.
a monitor to hang in here and just have like a recycling footage of the beach.
Put a fireplace so that we start sweating more.
That's why I said the goddamn beach. I didn't say a fireplace. Yeah, I'm gonna have just B-roll of a steel factory. Just raw like molten steel being shaped into girders and shit.
Somebody shoveling like coals into a train.
I-beams, yeah, like old. Yeah, sometimes it'll play Steamboat Willie.
Oh, there you go.
And we got a case of Studio Envy. Do you want a studio, Kayla?
My chat doesn't come up very fast on my phone. I'm glad you can see it.
I guess I should probably bring that up. I don't think I've brought it up. Dang it.
I will do all the responding if need be, so don't worry about that. So basically here's the rules, Athena. 5 minutes or 5 viewers, whatever comes first.
Okay.
So we'll what are we doing here? That doesn't say. Several minutes.
It's only been 2 minutes. It's 8:02.
Phew. Okay. By 8:05, things will start cooking. But for right now, we're pretty chill in the green room.
Just hanging out. So what are you drinking, Athena? Because I missed it.
Huh?
What are you drinking?
So my coworker went to St. Martin and brought me back some rum that they make on the island.
Ooh.
And so I mixed that with guava mango juice.
Interesting.
I'm not one for booze typically, but the moonshine we got at our wedding was really spectacular.
Yeah, David got so wasted.
Yeah, it was. I don't like the taste of it, so it was like a silent killer. This really tasted
like gasoline.
Well, it was palatable but just enough. And since it was super strong, you didn't have to like bear with the taste a long time before. I personally, as a lightweight, was sky high.
Oh my God. And yeah, we started drinking it. So I started getting super nervous. And so I had a glass of it before we even got married. Somebody brought me a cheese stick and a glass of moonshine. And then we got married. David started drinking. And before we even got the pictures taken by his cousin, he was like so drunk. It was hilarious.
Moonshine is not screwing around.
No, it was not. It was apple cinnamon flavored gasoline.
Got any good booze stories, Athena, in the green room here?
Bolt.
It's pretty loose. I'll take any stories of any kind as long as they're shorter than a minute at this point.
No, I'm not really for sure. I was a teenager when I had all my drinking stuff. When I moved out here is when I straightened up.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're one of two people. You're either, you do it young or you do it way late. Like I was 22 and a half before I was like, maybe I'll try it. And then way overdid it and was spooked off it for the next 2 years.
No, I was young. I did all of my stuff young. I got it out of my system before I was 21.
All right. It is time to roll. So here we go, everybody. I got a new soundboard, so get excited, Kayla, because I know you're the only one here.
You're listening to FFOP Radio.
Reach the
everybody. Here we are for another live show. It is Friday, Flamingo Friday. I'm wearing my flamingo shirt. Jason's still wearing his flamingo hat. There's still flamingos everywhere in the studio. Let me introduce you to my usual co-host and always wife. Krista's sitting over there.
I am in my flamingos.
In frame, she's right here.
And my flamingo glass with wine in it.
Yeah, so, we're getting loose. I got coffee to stay awake. Everybody else is getting inebriated. Very unprofessional. Just kidding. So, you probably read it in the title. My guest, Athena, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Now, Athena, you have been an ancillary character in my life, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. You've been an ancillary character in my life for a while via my wife, because I hear about your and her entanglements and all the pharmacy, et cetera, and usually by secondhand stories, I'm able to judge people pretty good to be like yay or nay on them, and I kept getting yays on your feedback or your input I was getting from her. So I thought, let's do this. Come on the show. Let's get expositive on this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So distracted. I have too many electronics going on, but yeah, me and Krista kind of clicked right away, and it's pretty cool meeting people. You just never know what you're gonna run into.
Yeah, a lot of people are weirdos, and yours is truly included. So let's get into it. I've got some questions. Let's get into you personally first.
Where were you born?
Where were you born? So we're in Arizona, and you're in Texas?
Yes, I'm living in Texas. I was not born here.
Not born there. Where are you from originally?
Michigan.
Okay. So the Midwest. I figured this was not a Texas accent I was hearing.
No, I've been down here for, what year did I move here? 2003.
Oh, that feels so recent, but it is actually very far away.
Almost 20 years.
Isn't that bonkers? Something else happened that blew my mind that it was 20 years old, which is a great story. Sorry about the deviation. So, yes, you're living in Texas. How do you like it there? I personally would love to visit, but I love also living in Arizona.
Well, I hate the cold, so it's better than it not being cold 6 months out of the year, but it's hot 6 months out of the year.
Right. So you like near the middle, one of the big cities, I imagine?
Yes, Fort Worth.
Okay, so yeah, Fort Worth. Is it the Fort Worth, Dallas area? The two ones that are close together?
Yes, but Dallas is very different than Fort Worth.
Okay.
Fort Worth is more country and I would say down to earth. Dallas is more uppity.
Okay.
I get hatred on that, but that's how I see it.
I get that.
I do not like Dallas.
Okay, that makes sense. So I don't know where to start. First of all, I'm wearing it right now. The bracelet that you made me and Krista. I wear mine basically every day. So first of all, thank you for that. But second of all, I want to get into your thoughts on all of the rocks and such, right? Because that's the most compelling part of what I'm trying to get into with you.
Okay.
So what is your view? Because I've seen you you posted those trees recently, which I love. What is your view with the rocks? Do you use them as what is their utility? Is what I'm getting at.
Well, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of information if you believe in that sort of thing and really take in doing research on them. I noticed a difference with some of them with anxiety, or calming if I'm needing more happiness, because each crystal or stone mineral has healing properties.
So here's where my I'm going to start to get picky with my questions. What is the principle? And I want to put a disclaimer up front. Like, I am by no means going to denigrate anybody's beliefs anywhere. If I'm asking questions, it's because I'm legitimately curious, not trying to be like, gotcha. So don't, if I start to be like, well, what if? I don't mean to be like, aha. But my question is like, when, because don't get me wrong, because I'm into this mystical stuff too. When we go into like the mystic and new age stuff, I see that each mineral and or rock and or gem have different energetic properties. My question is, do you know by what principle or mechanism they work?
I think it works as a whole with a lot of, the elements, the universe. It just works as a whole with the minerals and how they were created within the earth, is how I look at it.
Okay. So because here's my understanding, or my theory at least, on this is, if you want to go down the crazy rabbit hole, I'll give you the short version. But since, matter is energy, right? Like, if we could get into the metaphysics of it, if we're going to say matter is energy, and each type of matter is basically a different vibrational pattern of energy, then I can see where you can say various types of elements can do certain things based on their energetic vibrational patterns, right?
Right.
So am I off base there, or am I close to what you're trying to get at?
No, I think you're right on with that. When I kind of do my own thing, I do research, read what others, and I'm using that in a very generic term because I think everybody has their own opinions.
Yeah, you don't have any gurus necessarily.
Right. I sometimes feel something a little bit different with them than what everybody else and what has been publicly said of what they're used for. So I go off from my intuition and my feeling with them.
Okay, so it's not, I guess what I'm getting at here is like, your use of these minerals is not necessarily based on a belief system of any, like whatever you want to.
It's not like by the book.
Right. It's not, you're not saying, hey, I'm following XYZ path, right? You're saying I'm just doing it intuitively.
Right. I am very intuitive, and I have ignored it. Well, pretty much up until just recently. I just ignored gut feelings, anything that was intuitive. And I finally got to the point where, you know what, I need to just acknowledge this and maybe listen and just see how my life changes. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've gone with, and it's made a difference.
So you're saying, like, so what was the triggering event that made you be like, okay, I'm just going to live in the moment then?
Honestly, and I mean, I don't mean to get into any controversial stuff, but I mean, the last year, COVID, it's caused everybody to slow down and really having to look into ourselves and having to deal with not going crazy and not having mental breakdowns.
Right.
Kind of seeing more of what life is kind of about.
Okay.
Like introspection, because we can't we can't socialize as much.
Yeah. And that's the...
Right. We were forced to slow down. We didn't have every weekend of going to the birthday parties or having to go to get-togethers or all these plans. We didn't have any of that. The universe forced us to slowed down, and I feel that there was a reason for it.
I think, and I've been saying this to everybody, and so if I'm right, I'll be like, yeah, and I'll be doing like a swish motion in front of literally everybody. But we're probably on the like cusp of a new age boom again, because everybody's going to start to get, even if it's only surface level for most people. I think something's got to give here eventually. Like we're due for one.
Well, we just entered in the age of Aquarius.
So let me ask you this. Because if we're going to get into astrology, I want to know what is your base of, like if I were to describe myself and my philosophies and my view, I would say I'm somewhere between like Hindu and the Tao, with a little Buddhism for flavor. So like it basically is but the high note is essentially the Maya or the illusion or whatever you want to call it, is what I base my sort of core elements around. What have you got at the center of everything that you do? What is that core for you?
Honestly, I don't really feel that I have one. I feel that there's good in everything and there's bad in everything. And I think it's just in what you take out of it. Like some acts with religion, spirituality.
Let me clarify a little. Because I think I'm not I don't want to go down like, I don't want to really bring up religion because I know that's like sort of I'm just talking about like what flavor of mythology, right? Like what like if you say, my belief system is based off XYZ, like what basically what because everything does have the good and the bad. I totally agree with you. It's just, what do you personally gravitate toward the most, like aesthetically? Does that make sense?
Yes. So I don't know enough about anything that I'm like, okay, this is what I relate most with. Like I've looked up several different ones and I haven't ever really been able to relate to any of them. Like I don't feel like I fit into any of that.
Nothing really just clicks, right?
No, not that I've found.
I get that. It's a difficult concept, because there's a million ways to do something, and we have all the established ones that work for some people, but everybody who that net misses are left wandering and looking for the place where their mesh is fine enough,
Yeah.
So you're basically, I guess what I'm getting at here is like what, like when you're doing whatever you do, like we're doing with artwork or energy work or what have you with the minerals or the crystals, like what are you basing that on? I guess as a basis, like what got you started down that road? I understand you probably, or rather you are doing the feeling of it intuitively, but what got you interested and started at that? Like, what was the ignition there?
So I'm not for sure if I understand what you're trying to
ask. What made you interested in minerals and
not only
things?
what got you interested, but like I guess I drank too much coffee before the show, so now I'm like a mile a minute, so I apologize for that. I'm going to try and slow down. So let's say with the minerals, because you can be exposed to a lot of stuff. I guess what I'm asking is, what was the inciting incident that proved to you personally that minerals had these properties, right?
So I've always liked all of them. Growing up, since I was a kid, I was always fascinated with different types of rocks and minerals and crystals, all of that. But being raised that it was seen as negative, and that is not something that you want to associate with. So since I was younger and was very people pleasing and wanting to make sure everybody liked me and didn't judge me, that I just put it in the back and I never acted on it. And I finally got to the point where, you know what, it doesn't matter. I have been unhappy and I've had, internal struggles, and I can't do it anymore. It's, it's not affecting anybody else. It's only affecting me. So it just finally got to a point that I just need to be who I am and let other people see it and just like what I want to like. And if other people don't like it, then that's their choice, but I can't let it affect me.
Yeah. And there's varying levels of whatever depth or interpretation there too. So you basically what I'm getting from you is you've always been sort of drawn this direction, but have denied it for the sake of others.
Exactly.
I get that. My experience was through like martial arts. Like if we're gonna like what term are you comfortable with? We can talk about the self. We can talk about spirituality. What do you want to refer to this as, or what do you feel comfortable with it as?
I would say spirituality.
Okay, yeah, I'm okay with anything, but so like my ticket into like this area of spirituality was like the martial arts, because with the martial arts, I don't know if it's because it's naturally intertwined or if like it came with the karate lessons to make it feel like our parents weren't getting ripped off, but we would always get, sort of Taoist or Buddhist lessons through stories. And that always sort of drew me back as much as the physical activity of the martial arts. And something always compelled me to that. I came back time after time after time, but you get bucked off. And I'm sure you've experienced that too, where you say, okay, finally I'm going to break free. But then you get back on the wagon and you start going, oh no, I'm back in the old rut.
Yep.
But I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. Yeah, that's true. I agree with you.
Yeah. And so I guess what are you goal-wise looking to get out of this? Like, because everybody who travels down this path of self discovery or enlightenment or spirituality, they usually set their sights on something and head that way. Do you have something in mind, or are you just sort of going with the flow and being like, whatever happens?
I need more peace and balance and being able to let go.
Mm-hmm.
That is my ultimate goal. That's what I feel that would make me the happiest, is having peace and letting go.
So
stop holding things.
So let me ask you this, because this is going to be a tough question. Because you can tell someone, because it'll be intuitive. You can say, hey, if they're holding like let's say a suitcase, you say, let go of that suitcase. You'll immediately know to open your hand, let the suitcase fall out. When I say let go of that thought, what does that mean to you, right?
Okay.
So how do you, because if your goal is to let go, you're trying to let go. But what are you doing by trying to let go is my question.
What I do is I confront it, I accept it, understand what had happened, and then so I do little rituals, and they've changed a little bit depending on what it is, but I will write a letter and then I burn it.
Okay.
it's done and I feel relieved. I've expressed whatever it is. So it's like I'm getting out everything that either angered me or upset me. I'm getting it out and then it's gone.
How, in personal experience, how effective is that technique?
It's been great.
So once you write that letter and you burn it, like that thought seldom reappears.
No, the thought's still there, but as far as the feelings from that situation are gone.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not. It's impossible to use the correct language because I didn't. I know the thoughts are still there because like you can't like it's not like you've burned the actual memory, but yeah, like so when you burn the letter, the emotional connection to that memory was severed.
Yes.
I did that.
So it's interesting to me because for some people, I personally, I don't have that as a mechanism for me, but some people do. Like if you set it down on a physical something and then whoosh, give it back to the universe or whatever, that is a legitimate technique for disconnection from things. So my question is, in a universe of infinite things, right, that can go wrong or go right, what's the plan when everything comes up? Like, are you just going to keep burning letters, or is there a path to the root to wipe out all of the limbs? Does that make sense?
I don't think that would ever. I mean, I don't do that with small things. It's usually a trauma that I had larger affects my day to day. But if it's small things, then no, I don't have to do something that drastic. Right.
I just mean like, cause, everywhere on, on this grand wheel of spectrum that we have here, like if, because every level will have its own little mechanism, like for big things that may be the letter, but like, and not to say you personally, I'm saying you as in like the universal you, including me. We all have those various levels at like, I'll do this to release this and this to release this. But do you believe that there's something you can do at the root to sort of give everything that, like one big burst, like a pressure release lock? Like, is that, I guess,
if you know what the root is, sometimes you don't necessarily know what the root is. You have to peel back each thing before you have that realization of what the root problem was.
That's interesting. So my thing with like the layers and layers of our personality is like, we all have that that put upon us, right? Because our parents want us to be one thing and our friends want us to be other things, and every family member and everyone we meet, we have to be, something else to them. So I get the want to sort of peel back each layer and be like, this one and that one and this one. And then for some people that works. I did sort of that myself. But it's, here's my thing with like spiritual paths. It's real easy to get caught up in rituals and lose sight of the goal. I think that's why I kept getting bucked off. Is I would get into the ritual of it all, get into the aesthetic, and be like, oh, these things aren't working because I was getting caught in the context over the content. You know what I mean? And plus, like, not for nothing, but a lot of spiritual paths are intentionally murky, which I think is a dick move. Like, but that my personal gripes about that aside.
I do like the what Athena was saying about burning something, because I did that once, and it really did help. Like for that, the thing that I did it for, it helped ease my mind with a lot of things.
Yeah, and that's the thing about ritual is like you can do one of two things because everything we do, we put our own meaning on, or we're doing because someone else has already put the meaning there, like the alphabet. Everybody learns the alphabet because someone put meaning there so we could all talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
But then we'll do things to appease ourselves that take no other inspiration but our own. And I think doing it intuitively like you are, Athena, is probably the way to go instead of trying to hit it academically, because there's a million books to read and a million authors who have come and gone and still ones who are working it right now. So where do you start, right? It's like Netflix is everywhere.
Right.
So I guess what I'm still sort of murky on where you are on this spectrum. Like, aside from the elemental power of the minerals, is there anything else going on that you do? Because, like, I guess it's hard for me to picture something being done like related to spirituality that isn't completely centered on the self for personal improvement or towards some appeasement of like some force. So when you do these things, it's all introspectively, right?
Some. So what I mean by that is every month during the new moon phase, I have a little container. It is Orthocera jar, and I write down what I want for the month as far as what I expect to achieve.
Okay.
And sometimes I include friends, people that I know, family members. I include that in there, and then I burn it in the Orthocera container that I have.
Okay.
On the new moon.
So let me ask you, in what way, like when that message is burnt, where is it sent? You know what I mean?
What do you mean set?
So, like, most of the time when you, like with this, I'll hold it up for the camera, but I've got some of this ancestor money here. Like the intent of this is when you burn this ancestor money, you do the ritual and it's supposed to pay off. It goes into the afterlife to pay off a karmic debt for a relative. So I guess my aim is, who is the receiver of the burnt offering, right?
I don't really work with any of the deities or spirits or anything, so I would just say the universe as a whole.
Okay.
And I keep it in, I don't know if this is maybe what you're asking, but I keep it in that Orthocera container until the full moon. Once it's reached the full moon, that is when you release, and then I get rid of the ashes that were left over.
Okay. And what basis is this ritual set in? Like what I'm not sure what word to use, like what faith or what
is it, like a Wiccan thing
yeah.
or like
I have no idea. I just do it.
Oh. So you're just intuitively using the Orthoceras as a vessel for this thing that you then send into the universe.
Sorry, is Orthocera as a bone? Is it a
Orthoceras is we've got some out there. Those long petrified squids, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're fossils.
Yeah.
Because there's typically the two fossils you find are the ammonites, which are the whirligigs, the Fibonacci sequence, and the Orthoceras are the long cone-shaped ones.
Got it.
Yes. Yep.
So from your ritual is from whole cloth, is what I'm hearing, right?
It's from what?
Whole cloth. Like it's not based on any.
No, do my own thing.
Okay, so that's interesting. So I'm wondering.
Should I start cult because I do like my own thing. Because
Yeah,
I don't
you
want to
should.
be a cult leader.
Me neither. It seems like being a cult leader, unless you're incredibly corrupt and or have a lot of goddamn time on your hands, is not worth it.
Oh, it's so much work.
Yeah, but anyway, I guess I'm most interested because a lot of the people I talk to who are into this sort of thing gravitate toward a certain mythology, whether it be the Norse or the Wiccan or the XYZ, even the Egyptian pantheon, the saints, there's a million different things. So
I like all of it.
yeah, I do too. Like aesthetically, I think it's all really interesting stuff.
It is, yeah.
And like here's the thing though, for me with the minerals and stuff, I was introduced to them like from a scientific point of view. Like we had a bunch of stuff as a kid, like specimens of things like that would fluoresce with lights and stuff. So I came to it with a basis of that, and also going to a lot of rock shops who were almost exclusively run by old rock hounds who sold stuff extra super duper cheap because they got a bunch of stuff at like a show and want to get rid of it because they're old and it's heavy. I didn't necessarily get the experience of the magical side of it, or however you want to put it. Like it was when at a shop in Scottsdale, like a place here in Arizona that's all ritzy, a new age shop will sell you a piece of obsidian, volcanic glass for like dozens of dollars, claiming that, it has magical powers, but you can get a very similar, if not identical piece from an old guy with a very thick mustache and no hair for like 50 cents.
Yeah.
And it's funny to me because it's all about context. The content is the same here, but the context has changed.
Yeah, I completely agree. And this became a new, which I'm sure that you've seen or heard, that it's like a new phase or a new fad, I guess. I hate using that term, but it's what it is. And yeah, people are just doing it and they really don't care. And I'm very particular with where I get stuff from and who I work with, because I go off from my intuition.
Yeah,
there's a gift shop right down the street from where we used to live, and they would come in with like pallets and boxes of all of these rocks and minerals. And I get what you're saying. Like I probably wouldn't buy just willy-nilly from a cardboard box of things they got from God knows where. Like I feel like I would go get
it's context,
right? A piece of quartz from like a place behind a glass countertop. Like
yeah, because
it feels better.
Right.
Because part of it too is you're buying the experience. You're paying to have a little ride. When you walk into a mystic shop or whatever, chemically, every rock you buy from a rock hound or from a new age shop, identical. It just matters how it's presented.
The energy of the store.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's because then you can get into, because energy gets dicey for me personally, because you can say, I don't like the energy of the store. And what's really happening is you're just in a bad mood today. I've done
or like
that.
the people are very dismissive or something that makes it undesirable.
If you are easily able to read people but not disconnect from them emotionally, it can be a wild ride if you let it.
Yeah, I agree.
And
like so we went to two, well, there are a few like mystic shops we go to, but there was one in California that we went to, and I was completely like, I don't care about these people. Like it was not, I liked the cat was the only part of the store that I liked that were like living. And then we went to another place here. It was a mom and pop place, and half of it was this dude remaking furniture, but like I got a better feeling out of them and their.
Yeah, because it's the experience. It's
Yeah.
the
They were friendly. She was like a life coach or something. I looked up afterward, but like she felt more down to earth than the person behind the thing saying she was into sex magic. And that would it was just very
right, because like with any other industry or business or whatever, there's going to be people who are just in it for the money. Like they see an opportunity or a niche and they fill it, and
Yeah.
it's the same because like it's not. What I'm trying to get at here is it's not special to mystic or new age. If you walk into a furniture store and they treat you like a dick, you walk out and you go, I don't like that place. But since it's not associated with new age, you go, well, that guy was a dick. You're still getting the vibe, you're still feeling that. I don't think it's necessarily being surrounded by trinkets and stuff that necessarily changes anything, because the cast of characters in any store is it doesn't matter where you go. If you listen long enough, it's just because the Mystic Store, most people are very upfront about their weirdos.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you walk around, let's say Home Depot, for instance, walk around long enough, you'll hear people having weirdo conversations because there are weirdos everywhere.
So let me ask you this.
Sure.
You said you went into that store at California, but it was different at the mom and pop. So do you believe that when you're buying things at these places that energy or spirits can attach to it and you're bringing it into your home?
I will give you a full disclosure. I hold no belief of any religion, creed, superstition, or anything like that. All of my belief system is built around a similar system of intuition that involves no supernatural elements. But Krista might.
So,
us.
like, kind of. I mean, I don't really know.
I don't take my declination of it as invalidation. Like if you want to believe in the supernatural, that's fine. My implications, or my inferences rather, of the universe are based on the implications of various philosophies, not necessarily the manipulation or the conjuration of any gods or use of any elements, oils, or spells. I just love the aesthetic.
I lean a lot more towards, I guess, Greek mythology. I like Gaia. I don't know. The more I learn about her, the more I gravitate towards her, just because she's like Mother Earth and my plants and the earth and all the things. So I feel like, like I bought a Gaia figure at a place here that I probably wouldn't have gotten at the place in California, because I just didn't feel like they were connected to their things. Like I got an incense thing with a girl sitting with a chakra down her middle, and I love that. But like,
well, here I'll explain the situation exactly. Here's what happened. Like it was, since it is in California, I'm sure they get a bunch of people who want to go in there and are completely phony about everything and are into the aesthetic and not even hiding that, right? So when I walk in looking like this and she looks like that, and I'm taking a genuine interest in stuff, they go, oh, great, a couple of jag-offs. And, they completely
check this out.
Well, yeah, because they completely, which is insane. Like, if you're supposed to be working at this place, like, get a little intuitive, like, open yourself up. We weren't like, oh, this place is like, what? Like, so you're supposed to be, right. So they felt phony to me. And I tested that by being like, hey, because every mystic shop will have any sort of course you want. You can find ghosts or learn white magic. You can do tarot card readings, yada, yada, yada. So I said, if everything wasn't shut down because of COVID, what classes would you usually do? And so she lit up like a lamp because she found out I was actually interested in her ass, but all she had to do was open her eyes and look at me.
Yeah. The cat
Yeah.
was the one that was interested in us.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is it's not necessarily connected to what they're selling. Like when the over enthusiastic car salesman is trying to sell you a car, he's actually not trying to do you a favor.
He
Like,
probably doesn't drive said car that he's trying to get you to drive.
yeah. So I don't, I guess in a long way of answering your question, Athena, I do not believe that when I buy these trinkets, am I bringing home any negativity, nor do I think I'm bringing home any positivity personally, except for what I attach to it. Like we bought a little, what are those tall candles? There's a specific name for them, but whatever. It was to scare away the devil. So it was corre diablo corre, and you'd light it, and it was supposed to scare away the devil. And it was adorable, so we burned it for the fuck of it. I did not believe that by burning a cylinder of black wax that I was keeping the devil away. But what if? Because then you're covered, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I will never shut down any of this magic in any sort, form, or type, because it's all implied in the same way, just by different verbiage. In every philosophy, every religion, it all is pointing toward the same direction, but we, as the experiencer, pick our flavor, and then we've got a side to fight for and against sometimes.
Yes, I completely agree.
So that's why I get a little dicey around rituals and deities and stuff, because someone listening to me on a daily basis could easily believe that, like, I'm a practicing Hindu. Like, I just happen to know a lot about the pantheon and the mythology because I like the philosophy of it. I've got a bunch of trinkets and stuff, but I don't, like, when I'm meditating, I'm not actually sending my thoughts to Kanisha to be like, please send me money or whatever. Like, I realize it's all aesthetic for personal use. That's why I like, it's a fine line to walk, because you pick a team and it's real easy to be like, no, mine, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, it has pretty colors and shit, so.
Well, like I've got the tourmaline that you sent me. I've got it all over the house. I've got it by the windows. I've got it by the doors. Like, I don't know what makes tourmaline itself the protection, like blocking negativity or whatever it does. I put it there because it does it, but I don't understand the how or whatever. But I do it because I'm like, I feel like.
Here's the thing about any of this. The meaning of the thing that you're doing is what you ascribe to it. Mm-hmm. So any sort of magical object or any sort of spiritual whatever, it doesn't work unless you believe it.
Right.
So whether it works or not is moot.
Yeah, it's not that I don't believe that it's not a protection.
Well, no, that's
thing.
what I'm saying. Like, because you can cut it a million different ways, because everybody's philosophies are the same, just said in different words. So you can say, well, from a metaphysical point of view, you can use my earlier description of like, well, matter is energy. Energy is moving at different frequencies, having certain frequencies around to interact with your physical form could yada yada X, Y, Z. Or you can say that like the material itself is emitting some sort of this, that, or the other, or it's legitimate magic where the sparkles and fairy dust is involved, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you find legitimacy in any of it, in any way, shape, or form, and you get a positive reaction, what's like, that's it. You got it. You nailed it. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of, personally rather, the thing that kept throwing me is like when you get too hung up in the aesthetics and you think, well, the rituals aren't working because that's all you're thinking about. Like, I don't know. Here's a personal pet peeve, and I apologize for this digression. But when I'm meditating, I like to listen to mantras of like Hindu mantras because they're pretty soothing. A lot of them are really well produced. Oftentimes they have a full chorus and like instruments, and it's just a really pleasant experience. And sometimes I want to make myself sad, so I look in the comments. And it's these people who are so caught up in the aesthetic where they're like, oh, I pray to Ganesha every day, hoping for salvations and blessings. And people who have testimonials that Ganesha or Hanuman or Lakshmi or any of these characters are personally reaching out to solve their personal problems. Because that's what they're there for. They're there for the ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there's a level deeper. But it's not for everybody. Because if everybody was there, it would be pretty boring.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. It's true.
I want to get your personal opinion on this. If you get into like self-help or gurus or whatever,
Gurus.
I'm of two minds about gurus because there are some that are somewhat at least logically based, and there are some that are completely batshit insane. So, but that's like with everybody. There's a spectrum for everybody. It doesn't matter. You have friends right now. You, the viewer, and you, Athena, and you, Krista, and me, have friends on that spectrum too. It doesn't matter where they come from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of intuition too. I think a lot of people want to get into the flashy ones. And then, but it's like everything else. Like there's all the mega churches. Like as soon as you get in front of 10,000 people, you're no longer doing it for the thing. You're doing it for all the accolades and the money.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Well, like with, I always bring up Ram Dass, and because I don't know why, but he may have become, maybe he was never awakened, maybe he was a sellout in the end, but
you don't need to judge. Like he was what he was.
And I feel like he started genuinely. And like you're saying, when you get into the masses of the thousands and thousands of people who like bow at your feet, it kind of you get jaded, like Alan Watts did.
Well, not necessarily jaded. You just become accustomed. Like it's a very common thing for people to either, whether through meditation or through drug manipulation, they'll have an awakening and a dissolving of the ego and be like, whoa, that's when I woke up. And then as soon as that story is over, are checked right back into their ego and reality.
Yeah.
Without admitting the hypocrisy, because you can't not do that. It's the people who can't admit that you have to do both things at once. I'll respect you if you'll admit to your hypocrisy, because I'll do it. If you catch me, I'll say, yeah, you got me, but I'm trying. That's what everybody has to say. Because that's what we are. We're doing what we can in the moment. And the way you get there is the way you get there. Whether you want to do it through the elements, through like your thing, whether you want to do it through the Greek pantheon or whatever. I think it's all delicious. It's just personally, none of it is like compelling enough for me to be like solely on board with it,
Yeah.
I'm like stuck between. It's not even all of Greek mythology. It's just Gaia.
Right.
And I think that also goes into the elemental stuff because of all.
Maybe here's a question, and Athena, this is up for you too. When you're looking into, like when you say Gaia, or we are going to talk about whoever and whatever, when you're looking into it and you're sort of reading up, like what is and maybe you haven't even asked yourself, but what is the end goal of when you learn enough about this particular sect of spirituality? Like what do you have to do with all that knowledge and experience? Does that make sense? Like with all of the things that you're doing and working toward, do you see, or have you planned on, or do you maybe not understand, because it's impossible to understand life, right? But do you see yourself ending up somewhere after a certain amount of time or experience is my question. Like definitively.
I don't, but I don't think that there's ever an end to learning about anything. I mean, maybe the end, death. I mean, I'm not.
We can get into it, but I've got theories. Krista doesn't like talking about that stuff.
Well, I think with like me, like looking into like Gaia and learning about, creator of everything essentially, and I think it is helping me realize me and like help me recognize where I'm going to go when I die. I don't like talking about it because it kind of makes my hands sweaty sometimes,
and that's a lot of people come to, whatever you want to call it, whether it's religion or spirituality or whatever. That's the number one question on everybody's lips is like, all right, now that I'm in on this, what happens then? And we always cast ourselves to that moment and focus on it.
Yeah, and I'm working towards not doing that. I think it's me just...
Right, but here, let me tie it back in earlier because you say working on not doing that. So imagine this. Again, here's my analogy again. You're holding a suitcase and I say, let that suitcase go. You would intuitively go, boop.
Yeah.
And if I say, let go of that mentality, you go, I'm working on it. So metaphorically, how are you working on that in a real actionable way? Because if I were to say that about the suitcase and I saw your hand slowly opening, I'd be like, what are you doing? You're like, I'm doing it a finger at a time. So you at least have a strategy, or you're saying I'm releasing tension 10% every minute, right? So, but with psychological or emotional or spiritual issues, we say I'm working on it, but how do you feel, or are you it? Do you understand? Understand is the only word I can think of, because we're all doing it intuitively. Like, that's the thing. You're living the way you're living because you're doing it. Mm-hmm. So do you understand why you're doing it, or how you're doing it, or where you're going? Or you're just saying, I'm trying and saying, yeah.
I feel like I'm just trying to find the path that suits me the best. And I think going that route is the way that I need to go to accept life and death as one, essentially.
Okay. What about you, Athena?
That was a lot of words.
I can try and concisely somehow put it. So here, let me I'll put it in black and white, sort of. So sort of. I'll try, but it's impossible. Are you going toward the things that you are gravitating toward? Are you going there for the ritual, for techniques to use in the moment, or is the ultimate goal to use these techniques to finally get rid of them? Or are, like, you know what I'm saying?
Using them for the moment now.
Mm-hmm. But there is only now. So is there a plan, or do you say when that's what I'm getting at, is like it's very hard to, and I'm not trying to nitpick you, but it is very difficult to, because like, let's say you're building a birdhouse. You can say, well, right now I am nailing the walls up and I'm going to let the glue dry, and because there's an obvious step forward. I guess what my point of this all is it's incredibly difficult to, like, if you want to say I'm moving forward spiritually or intellectually or whatever, it's hard to put markers because you're being you right now. And you say, well, I don't feel any different because you have been uninterrupted in you the whole time.
So I'm trying to understand what you're bringing up. So
sorry.
As far as now, I mean, that's where we've gotten now is because of our past, and that our past has created now. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, you have to work through, unless you have had the absolute perfect life without any bumps, traumas, or anything. I mean, we're all human. We hold on to things, and there's a point that most people, I won't say everybody because I don't think everybody does. There is a point that most people are like, okay, I am the way that I am because of the past, and I need to change it so my future is not the same as it is today.
Right. But then what's the plan then? Because we use the past, which doesn't exist anymore, to beat ourselves up. And as a measuring stick, we say, well, I used to be better. I'm getting better. I used to be worse, or yada, yada, yada. But you're not going to be any better than you are right now, because now is the only time where you exist. Like, you can point to the past and remember it, but it's irrelevant, right? You could say, well,
right.
It's
I think that's different for everybody, because you don't know. You won't know whatever it is that you're doing now, you won't know if that was right until
later.
Right. But what's right and what's wrong? Like, when you're faced with the decision, you're going to collapse. Like, you're faced with the decision every day. Like, everything you do is, a collapsing of a waveform. And it's easy to use the past to beat ourselves up. So let's say, do I buy a new car? Do I want a truck or a van? If you buy the truck and the truck breaks down, you go, God damn it, I should have bought the van. But if you buy the van breaks down, you go, oh, I should have bought the truck. Each is equally likely, and you're just as equally likely to justify the wrong decision by the collapsed waveform that you did not choose. So it's easy to use a past that doesn't, or like a present that doesn't even exist, because the past is gone and that present doesn't exist. And you go, oh, I should have. Oh, I should have. How many times do we say that a day? Oh, I should have. Mm-hmm. The grass will always be greener,
Right. That could be one of those things that you're working on. You're working on not saying I should have, and just accepting that, I don't know, say it was a lesson for whatever it is, using the car. Well, the truck broke down, instead of your mind, oh, well, I should have bought the van and that wouldn't have happened. That's not taking responsibility, I guess, of it. I mean, things just happen, right. But whatever it is that's surrounding that truck breaking down is going to teach you for something down the road, but you just don't know what it is yet.
Well, yeah, it's incredibly easy to just assume no responsibility for your life. You can say, well, why do I feel so bad? Well, it was my parents, it was my this, it was my friends, it was always blah, 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 blah. And as long as you are using the past as a measuring stick and trying to predict the future, all while juggling all of these relationships for each person, you are a slightly different version of yourself. Like, those are all the layers that are unnecessary, that we don't need to necessarily look at. Because once the core is strong, people get spooked. They will get spooked, because if you stop bending over backwards for people to be their friend, and they go, I don't like this new you, and it's the actual you, what are they saying? Like,
that they don't like you.
Right. And people are afraid of that. Like, people are ashamed of themselves, because if they are genuine and let their freak flag fly, or, whatever the case may be who they are, because why are we all living this polite lie to each other? Like, if you only like me when I behave a certain way to appease you and your lifestyle or whatever, Like, what is our relationship worth?
Right.
Well, I get that. I think a lot of it is, though, that we always are like, well, we're social people. So we appease others to have communication or to have some sort of relationship with,
Right, but
with a lot of people.
Right, but the appeasement isn't necessary. Like, we are so afraid to like be genuine. We are constantly probing the other person to try and build up like, oh, you like this? I love that.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Well, I lost a decent amount of friends and family. I mean, for that matter, in the last, 10, 11 years. And it's because, you set boundaries and you learn more about who you are and how you're just, not really friends with somebody, but you work with them. So like you.
Well, yeah. How many times have you said this in some form or fashion where you go, they are such a nice person, but, and then it's a horrible deal breaker. But we justify that relationship because we are trying to serve them instead of our own needs. For what, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's just how it's been since the beginning of the generation. And it has to, at a point, it has to change.
Well, it's never going to change. That's a fool's errand. But what you can do is do yourself. Like, don't worry about society. If you can work on you and get you where you need to be, then everybody else's deal is moot to you. Does that make sense? Because once you are...
But I think it's happening more prevalent now in, like Athena was saying, in our generations, because there are more of us in our, 30s, early 40s that are kind of like putting our foot down and being like, you know what, boundaries. It keeps coming up because I keep saying it, but like, I think our generations are setting more boundaries with family, with religion, with whatever.
Yeah, it's a movement toward
as
the
opposed
self.
to others, right?
It's just here's
but
the
we're
problem.
going to teach our children to do that too.
Well, but it's a double-edged
theoretically.
sword because there's content and there's context. So the content is they focus on the self, meaning like a betterment or whatever you want. Like you become, to be true to yourself in your core. But that message is often warped to like be true to yourself, meaning like who gives a fuck about anybody else and be a dickhead because you're special as shit and here's a trophy for participating.
Right.
So it's the same words, but the message is
Perceived differently.
yeah.
Right.
So there's no way you're ever going to get everybody on one side of any coin. What you can do is be like, all right, I see the left, I see the right. I'm going to be over here in the stands watching.
Yeah.
Because when you take sides too,
See how
it's
it goes.
easy to get so dogmatic. And that's why I'm into everything related to this only aesthetically, because I don't ever want to get into like an argument over the merits of some imaginary character versus another.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
Buddha versus Shiva.
Well, yeah,
or whatever,
because it's as soon as you start chopping up the universe into different pieces, you get to pick sides. But whose side is whose? How many wars have ended suffering? We've had a lot of them as a species. But yeah, so I don't know where I'm going with all this, but the focus is on you, the person. If you are comfortable in yourself, living in the moment, not beating yourself up over the past, not making yourself anxious over the future, but you're right here, right now, there's always going to be political strife. There's always going to be economic turmoil. There's always going to be like ecological disasters. As long as we are here to document our life and the planet around us, it'll be happening.
Yep.
What do we do about it? Like if as a species, we all go like, I'm going to change the world. I mean, all the legendary figures in history, like has the world changed after any of them? Mother Teresa is a popular one.
To be completely honest, I don't even know what she did. Like, I know Mother Teresa is a big, like, not a saint or whatever she is.
I don't know if she's reached sainthood or not.
But, like, she's a big thing. And I'm like, what? I don't really know what she did.
Yeah, all of...
But there have been people who have legitimately changed, like, societal norms, like Rosa Parks.
Right. And that's the thing. There will always be an evolution of society. There will always be change because the cultural norms and
right. But I mean, they made
move.
history books and not necessarily like literally change the entire world.
Right. And that's the thing. If they didn't do it, somebody else would have because everything gets to the breaking point.
Yeah. And eventually that won't even be taught. Like the things will be so... Like you said, I guess it would be moot in, 50 years. They probably won't be saying Rosa Parks sat at the front of the bus or whatever.
They'll still teach, I'm sure, because that's still American history.
It could be, but
regardless, that's way off whatever.
I know, it just came up.
Whatever this is supposed to be, I don't know what it is anymore.
Whatever.
But Athena, I feel like I've taken up enough of your time. We've been going for over an hour, and it's been fascinating to get to talk to you. So thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's definitely, I like hearing other people's sides of things. Just because, it's just interesting to me just to hear what other people think.
Yeah, I love all of it. Everybody's idiosyncratic beliefs, it all hangs together with every other belief out there. So I find it all fascinating, from the Christian mythology to every other whacked out, like every zany, like even, to the far out nuts, like Aleister Crowley and like Anton LaVey and like those nutsacks, like anybody who has a weird take on something, I'll look at, because if I can look past the context and find the meat amongst the fluff, I'll steal it. Yeah, I am not above using somebody else as inspiration, because that's what, you can pick your own thing and then get dogmatic about it. But it seems more pragmatic, not dogmatic to me, to pick up the lessons of all of the cartoon characters in every little mythology book. And, as long as you're aiming toward being all right, you're probably going to hit it. I mean, there are some people, obviously, like murders. If you're a true crime fan, there's always going to be murderers. And
we didn't even get into that.
Yeah, we talk
another show.
True crime another time. But it's nice to know another true crime fan.
Yes.
Because when you tell someone you're into true crime and they are not,
you're a murderer in their eyes.
Yeah.
It is. It's been so long. Like, it happened recently here in the studio. I told someone, "Oh yeah, I love true crime," and I got the okay. Like, yeah, it's been so long since I got that reaction. I was like, "Oh yeah, some people don't like hearing
weird."
Yeah, some people don't like hearing about murderers. Plus, I'm picky about my true crime.
Yeah,
it's like they think that you're rooting for murderers and think that it's okay. And
yeah. I'm not gonna lie, like Casey Anthony, I that's not interesting to me. But like the real weird ones,
right? It's everybody goes to true crime for their own itch to scratch. Mine is, I like a mystery solved. I don't like hearing the ones that are unsolved, because dangling threads, aside from Jack the Ripper, that tickles me just right. But every other true crime that's unsolved, I'm like, who cares? Zodiac, don't give a shit. Like, all the ones that go unsolved, I'm like, yawn.
I don't know, the Zodiac Killer is kind of interesting to me, but that's for another day.
I don't know. He feels like I don't know. We're gonna, like you said, another time. I can't.
That's like a whole podcast worth.
Because we'll crack into it, and I've got a lot of. There are so many, and there are so many other weird. Whatever. I can't. All right, guys. Thank you so much for everybody who came to watch and or listen. Athena, thank you once again for coming on the show. It was super fun. Next time I'll get some true crime notes together, maybe.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Yeah, we'll actually make lists next time.
Yeah. Maybe we'll pick our top 3 or 5 cases. Because I was surprised you had not heard of Gannon Stouch, whatever.
Stouch.
However you want to say it.
I have. I may have known it for something else, but I'm surprised that you didn't know about Dr. Death.
I've heard about Dr. Death. I know nothing about it. Like, I know that like it's a show, but I do not know anything about it. But I wanted to get into it.
There are so many. It is.
Yeah.
Our universe is fractalized. Anything you want to get into is an infinite pool. So if you want to get in, you're going to drown if you enjoy it. That's the disclaimer. There's no bottom anywhere. Every hobby you pick up will be infinite and you will never leave unless you are forced. That's why I've been doing this show for 100 years. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to, since I got a soundboard, you guys are going to hear the outro too. So thanks again for joining up. Athena, thanks again. Krista.
Bye.
Of course, you're always here.
Hey.
Good night, everybody.